Hello class. This is a tutorial for depicting basic forms using 3 shade indication. Exercise will be done in Painter, but the principles would be the same, working in any media. The worksheet I provided you provides basic domed sort of or circular forms and cylindrical forms. Starting with the circular forms, you have the top view, which are basically circles, and the front view. Here you have a plate. Here you have a plate with rounded corners, a low dome, a high dome, and a flat plate with a basin. So, starting with a as we discussed in class, these are in this file and they really shouldn't be. Alright. Okay, so select my canvas quickly, lift it up, gel it so I don't harm my drawing, and back to my canvas again. I don't want a lot of grain for this kind of work, and I don't want a lot of opacity. 50% is about right. Brush size is whatever seems to work well. If I go outside of the lines, I just set up my secondary color to white so I can tidy it up. Since we are working in Painter, we could copy and paste this, but I'll go ahead and go through the trouble of drawing it in. Same is true with gouache or Painter. I tend to do similar wrist actions together. So since painting these requires filling a large area with pretty free strokes, I start with that. And then I come back. I'll tidy up the upper right hand corner of each one, because that uses a specific kind of wrist motion and grip on my pen or brush if I was in gouache. And now I'll reverse around to catch the backside. Once again, requires its own touch, angle of hand and pen. Make any quick corrections I think are worth making. And that should suffice. I mean, I can come back in and really finesse the edges. By the way, this is the edge that's always hardest to paint, traditionally or digitally, just because backing up into this corner is hard for the wrist to do. So you're more likely to make mistakes, or at least I am. Okay. But there's a base coat laid down. Next I'm going to shade. So I'm going to pull down here and come up with a shaded color. Start with my dome. With the dome, the shading should come fairly high up, almost to the center. And I want kind of a crescent form. I won't make corrections at this point. If I don't like it, I'll leave it. I will come back and correct it in a minute if I feel I need to. The low dome, the shading stays more to the outside. The basin, the shading will form a bit of a paisley form shape. Excuse me, still struggling with my throat. Right there. And for the flats, you have diagonal bands. Pardon me. Doesn't really matter where you put them. The flats don't have a lot of form, obviously, so you're really just showing the breaking of reflections across their surface. This also is a flat. I would probably position the flat so that it is not conflicting with the shaded band. Position it so it's not conflicting. With my base and shadow. Okay. Okay, I want to clean these up a little bit. To clean them up, I need to have the background color. So I'm going to flip to what would have been my white. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and that will give me an eyedropper. And I will click, tap in that area. Pick a little more modest brush. Okay. I might drop my transparency down to about 30%. My opacity. And now I can go back and forth between those colors. Now here I would like to return this back to an overall middle tone. And I can flip back and forth between the two. To get something I like. And then on the flat ones I would like to do a little bit of a thinner straight line. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So that's my middle tone and my shading. Now for my light, in the white metal, I'll go almost to white. Back to my dome. Oh, for the light I need to have my opacity back up to around 60%. And a little lighter still. There we go. You want to see a distinct difference. That light area can be also kind of that same paisley-ish form you saw here. On the low dome, it'll be a round, kind of a long balloon, arching balloon form. Okay. I still have my opposite color as the gray tone, so I can come back in and finesse it if I want to. Here it's the same idea that we had in the dark. We're going to lay in a broad band of light. Same here. and then a narrow band of light. You don't want to make it the same as the dark one. You want to have always a slightly different width. Okay, so. Okay. And then on the basin here, I'm going to have a highlight as the light reflects into the bowl. I'm not going to bring it all the way up to the edge though. Leave a little bit of that gray. Okay. Now, the difference here is one of detail. It's a very detail sort of issue. So I've already got my light, so I'll come in and I'll put a shadow, a highlight. Now it'll be similar to this shape, but narrower and close to the edge. That little dot is a way of breaking the highlighter shadow so that it doesn't become too heavy. As it comes through the light here, I would go back to the gray color just to show that it changes as it goes around. And then the shadow, I'll need to borrow that Alt key dropper. Does the same slight distance from the edge, but in a shaded color. And the final detail that you can add to these is, for example, a lit edge. So maybe take my brush quite small, quite opaque, and along the very edge of this flat piece, catch a rim. That does give the feeling of light catching the edge of the metal. It makes it feel more flat still and more reflective. Same thing could happen here. Where the light catches this rim. And again through here. Where the light catches the other one. There. These aren't masterpieces. They're not meant to be. You don't use indication technique for a masterpiece. Okay. Other things I could do that would make it a little nicer is I could put a little reflected light behind here. Need a bigger brush though. I don't want it fussy and tiny. Put a bit of reflected light back in here. We'll make these feel more shiny, more reflective, more metallic. Okay, so that's it in the white metal. Procedure is similar in the yellow metal. I will pick a warm taxi cab yellow color. Alright, about like that. Come in here and fill the dome. Again, similar wrist technique repeats itself. I need a white, so did my Shift X to bring up my secondary color, and Alt key tapped in the white background to set it to white eyedropper. Pardon me. And there we go. Shadow color. And the same thing, kind of a soft crescent coming close to halfway across for the full dome. Not going to worry about finessing it right now, just putting in a basic shape. This one is a longer and skinny variation of the same, staying close to the edge. We have our wide bars for our flats. And our shaded area in here. Okay, I'm going to clean it up. Bring my brush down to a realistic size. Set my secondary color to my yellow. Bring my opacity down into the 30s. Tidy it up. Brush is a little small. Okay. Recover the bowl. Narrow lines. Light color. Notice how it still reads. Even before I do the light color, you can feel the form. I'm going to take the yellow to a cold yellow, like a lemon. And quite high, almost to white. Bring the opacity up high. Slightly larger brushstroke. And the high dome. Be sure not to kill all of the medium color. You need it. Might be a little too light. There's a certain amount of forgiveness. I mean, it's not precision. So if you're a little off, too light, too dark, it's okay. Oh, the power of undo. Okay. Tidied up with a smaller brush. And the back color being the medium, so we can tidy things up a little. Narrow line for that reflected light here. Maybe a little there as well. Not really on the lower dome, not so much. Thin line. Thin line. Okay. And that's it. All I could do now is tidy up any of the areas where I bled past the lines. But there's white, there's yellow. Okay. Last thing I'll do is these shapes down here. I'll go back to gray. If I wanted to make sure it was consistent, I could actually Alt and Tab. But it's very close. Okay. Make sure you're painting on the canvas. And as with the circles, similar wrist action. Remember, we're not doing that bullet shape, so don't bother with it. Then more careful strokes. And there you go. Going to shade first. High cylinder, full cylinder. Wide band, running vertically, almost to the middle. Low dome, or low pipe. Shadow is more to the outside and narrower. Peak, the shadow falls right behind the crest. Here we have two. One shadow through here. And another on the edge. Okay. Tidy up my work a little bit. Smaller brush. Okay. Secondary lines. See, I'll fill in a little bit back here. Okay. Secondary lines, put one here. Put one coming across here. Put one tighter in here. And now go to the light color. On the dome, the high one. It's fairly broad and close to the center. On the low dome, it's a little narrower and off to the outside. Peak comes right up against the edge. Bumps. One area here. Another area there. Secondary lines are reflected light. Pick up a little reflected light over here. Pick up more reflected light on this one. A little bit of reflected light here. Okay. Touch of reflected light in here. And then a secondary reflection line. One there. It's got a little scratchy. One here. Maybe. Nope. There. This one. Yes. Okay. And that's really enough. I'll tidy it up a little bit. But that gives you the idea of the basic forms. Okay. That'll get you started. Remember, you are to do a full sheet of each color. So this would be another row of gray and 2 rows of gray on the cylindrical forms, and then 4 grays in yellow. All right. Thanks so much for watching.